And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Small Biz Matters here live in the studio at Triple H 100.1 FM. Super excited to be here. We have a jam-packed show. It's a double-barrel event this week. We've got two fantastic guests, in fact, three fantastic guests covering two very broad topics. The first one of which is a pre-record I did at the ATO offices in Sydney. And we've got Braden from the ATO, who's actually the head of the small business compliance team. And he looks after, I guess you could describe the winding out, the situation where they're going out into businesses at the moment and they're interviewing businesses about the black economy. It's a bit complex, but also they're trying to get out there and explain to people what the black economy is, encourage them away from becoming part of that in the cash economy. And the way they're doing that is going out and talking to businesses one-on-one, which is a great approach, really, very different from the ATO a long arm approach where they come in and scare the bejesus out of everyone. But what they're doing is they're coming in, they're having chats to people. And Braden was very kind enough to sit down with me a few weeks ago and explain to me what the process is. Let's go straight into that pre-record. And we are here live in the ATO offices for Small Biz Matters, and we're talking to Braden Powell, the Director of Small Business Assurance ATO. I've just sat through a fantastic session all about the black economy and the way that the ATO is supporting businesses not only to become more compliant, but a new rollout of visitations that they're going to take across New South Wales and in fact across the country to help people get a better understanding of the black economy. Now, welcome to the program, first of all, Brad.
Thanks, Alexi. Great to be here.
Now, we're going to talk a little bit today about the black economy itself and the impact that it has, obviously not only on us but as businesses, but also on, well, the economy as a whole. Can you explain to me why the ATO is targeting this in this way?
Thanks, Alexi. Look, the black economy is quite a big and complex challenge, not just from the tax office, but for the whole of the community. And recently, the government actually had a whole black economy task force, the federal government, to actually explore different ways that we can address this, because they estimated that the cost to the community is something around $50 billion. So $50 billion has a big impact on the things that we all know about the taxes fund, like hospitals, schools, roads, all the programs that the whole community benefits from. But the black economy is actually more personalised in the way that it impacts those people who are trying to do the right thing. So those businesses that properly record all their sales, put their correct expenses, do all the right things, they can be undercut by businesses that choose not to, that choose to participate in black economy activities. They can undercut in terms of quoting, or those businesses that don't do the right thing can actually enjoy a better lifestyle because the money they should have paid in taxes or the super they should have paid for their employees, they're actually using for their own benefit as well.
Now, this isn't just necessarily one aspect or one area of small business. It is pretty much across the board, isn't it? You're talking, it happens in construction, it happens in retail, it happens in food. Everywhere people are trying to do the wrong thing. Would you say that it is more one business over another, or one area over another, or is it, across the board?
It is fairly. It is across a range of different businesses. Obviously, there are businesses where perhaps these ability to participate in black economy activities is more available. So those that perhaps have a lot of cash dealings, for example, are ones where there's opportunities to do that. And we actually have seen in a range of different business activities that we've looked at over the year, whether it's in the hospitality industry or whether it's in the hair and beauty industry or building constructions, some patterns of behaviours that cause us higher risk as well. But the other thing as well is in engaging with businesses, we also want to engage with all businesses to actually understand if there are any risks that we haven't observed already in terms of participating in black economy activities, but also to alert them around the issues and risks around it so they can be more aware of when they're dealing with other businesses about things they want to discourage in terms of how they might choose to interact with them. So, for example, not accepting different contracts or payments where it's different from a cash price to a non-cash price as well. So we really want to educate the whole of the community around the risks and the ways that can disadvantage both the community and them as a business around participating in black economy activities.
So take me through how these sort of visitations are going to take place. You mentioned just before that you would be visiting 30 areas at the moment. Today was all about educating the businesses around the CBD in Haymarket in particular.
Yep.
So when you go out to these to visit these places, what can people expect to happen?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, what we are doing this year is visiting 30 different locations across the country, and that will be in metro areas like we're doing Haymarket over the next couple of weeks, but it will be in regional locations. So recently we've been in Busselton and Bunbury in Western Australia, and we've been up in Cairns, and we'll also go to remote locations as well. So in about a month's time we'll be up in Alice Springs doing similar activities. So these are areas that we believe there are risks of potentially participating in black economy activities. So when we're actually going out to businesses, we're going there with a mindset of, well, there may be something wrong here, but let's go and observe, see actually how the business is operating, ask some questions around some of the general things that people get wrong around record keeping, understand what their payment systems they're using, what employees they use, what payments they make in terms of super. Actually observe what's happening and see if there are risks, and if there are things that we can actually do to help them understand and address any questions they might have, but also help them get back on track. So if there are things for a particular business where they might have got behind in lodgement or outstanding debt, maybe we can help them. Maybe there are things that we can provide in terms of information and support tools that we can see in their business would be of assistance to them. So a visit might be as short as 10 minutes. You know, if everything's fine, there's no risks that we're observing, they've got no questions, everything's okay. And it might be up to 30 minutes if we actually want to ask some more questions around, oh, hang on, you know, we can see that you don't seem to have any electronic record-keeping system or point-of-sale systems. How do you go about making sure that you're correctly recording your sales and reporting them? And just unpacking some of those questions and maybe going, well, hang on, we think actually there's some information that we have on our ATO website or maybe on the ATO app that actually could help you with some record keeping or some of the other things that you're struggling with as well. So some of those might take 30 minutes.
So in the instance where you're finding that people are not necessarily doing anything criminal, which needs to be reported beyond what's happening on the day, it's about supporting. Do you see this as philosophically a way to support small business and guide them in the right direction, or is it a fact-finding mission on which you're going to later on do further investigation? Where's the emphasis there?
Oh, look, I think it's both. I mean, obviously we are visiting locations where we think there might be some black economy type activities. So we really do need to do a bit of a fact-finding thing to say, look, if we think there's a risk, what's the reality? What's actually happening? So that if there are things that aren't right, the things that we think might need some further investigation, we can identify them. We won't walk away from them, and we won't simply there for help and educate where there's something actually wrong. But obviously we need to balance it up. So obviously we want ultimately for people to be supported to do the right thing. So if people are inadvertently getting things wrong, we're there to help. But if people are deliberately not doing the right thing, well then there could be more serious action that we need to take. So it might end up being escalated for an audit, or there might be some follow-up engagement with them to say, look, you know, we noticed that you had outstanding income tax returns, we talked about you lodging them, getting up to date, they're still not up to date, need you to follow up with those. So it's around finding the right balance in terms of what actually is happening in that business, and it could be just complete help and educate through to, look, there's some really serious issues here that we can't just ignore, and we need to actually do something about it.
Now, I noticed in today's session the topic around the black economy was covered very well, but the audience members did sort of dive down the rabbit hole of other subjects. If your visitors go into businesses and they're asked questions about other things, I mean, people could see this as an opportunity for them to gather as much information about running their own business as possible. Is there the opportunity for that person to follow up? Are they going to be almost a port of call that if the business owner has further questions, they can come back to that person, or are they pushed back into the system with being able to ring the main line and then ask the questions?
Look, I think just the nature of the visits that we're doing, so I think we talked about doing between 300 and 400 visits during this time.
What is the time frame, by the way? How, is it sort of a 6-month or 12-month period?
Oh, so we'll do it over between 1 and 2 week periods.
Whoa.
So
wow.
Basically we're out in the community visiting all businesses, having those conversations. So, our first point of contact for people with further information probably will be through the information support services that we have, our website, phone contact, and we'll actually, when we're out, leave information around the right places to go for the particular bits of information as well. When we visit a business and it's not the right time, we'll usually leave a business card so someone can ring back that person and arrange a more appropriate time to follow up in terms of having the conversation around how their business operates and a time to talk about any of the things that we're seeing in their business that we'd like some more information or have a conversation about.
Excellent. So there is an opportunity to follow up then.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now, just talk to me in general about if people are doing the right thing, and like you said, there's a lot of business owners out there who are being disadvantaged by those in your industry who are doing the wrong thing. How can they report it anonymously?
Yes. Look, there are a couple of ways that it can be done. We do have a specific form called Report a Concern that's on our website that people can choose to complete and not provide any details.
And that's on the ATO website?
It is on the ATO website. Another avenue to access that information is through the ATO app as well. And so any information that is captured on the app remains on the app except for what you choose to send through to us. So any identifying details, where it's been submitted from, none of that comes through to the tax office as well. So we recognise that it needs to be anonymous if people choose to, but these are a really important source of information for us. We get around 10,000 reports from the community just on black economy activities alone, and many of those referrals to us lead on to some really significant audit outcomes.
And coming back to the general community, of course, we are all impacted by the black economy and the lack of, people paying taxes and doing the right thing, because it impacts on other businesses and us broadly as well.
Exactly.
Look, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today on Small Biz Matters. We're really looking forward to talking to the ATO more about these topics and others. Where can people go to find out more information about the black economy and to educate themselves before or after they get one of these visits?
Yeah, look, a great place to start is the ATO website. If people get into the website and they search for protecting honest businesses, that'll take you straight to some more information along the lines of what we've discussed today. If you can't remember that, just Google ATO visits and that will also bring up that same information as well. But it's fairly comprehensive in terms of why we're doing this activity, what to expect during a visit, what we found some of the other visits that we've done, and there'll also be links to information around the black economy more generally as well.
Well, that's fantastic. And everyone, don't forget about the awesome ATO newsroom, which is especially designed for small business to find out lots of information. You can subscribe to that, of course. And your ATO app has really lots of great features, which you mentioned today, to support small business in their record keeping, which is one of the things you're trying to combat with these visits as well.
Absolutely, and I just encourage people to just get in and have a play. I've not seen anyone that we've shown it to that hasn't seen it before, that hasn't been very pleasantly surprised by how user-friendly it is, and also how practical some of the services are, especially around record keeping, being able to take photos of your receipts, keep details of what you've spent, both in terms of expenses and also income as well, so that it's all in the one place. We've got great things around using point-to-point and GPS to record business travel in a way that can easily just capture that and do all the calculations for you as well. And the ATO app, as you mentioned before, has an ability to report a concern, and it also has links back to all of the information for small businesses around the small business newsroom or all of the other services that we have that can support small businesses. So a couple of great services that we have as well is in relation to being able to do a live chat. So instead of being on the phone, you can actually just key in your question and actually talk to an operator over the keyboard and get the answers that you need, or even if it's not convenient to ring the tax office, to arrange a call back from us as well.
There's lots of great ways that people can tap into the resource that is the ATO, as well as trying to make themselves more compliant. Thank you so much for sharing your information today with Small Biz Matters. You've been listening to Small Biz Matters, the half-hour program where you work on your business rather than in it, reporting here from the ATO. Thanks for joining us. And welcome back in the studio. You're here live in Triple H 100.1 FM. Welcome back to Small Biz Matters. Just before the break, if you're joining us now, we had a pre-record interview with Braden Powell from the ATO. Now, he looks after all small businessy things, including small business compliance, and he was telling us about these visits that the ATO has been doing to try and combat the issue of the black economy, which, let's face it, actually affects all of us.